Let me pull up the story we have from timcast.com. Anna Navarro doubles down on comments about aborting special needs babies. She went on to say that she says, quote, I have a brother who's 57 and has the mental and motor skills of a 1-year-old. And I know what that means financially, emotionally, physically for a family. I have a step granddaughter who was born with Down syndrome. And you know what? It's very difficult in Florida to get services. It is not as easy as it sounds on paper. And I've got a step grandson who is very autistic. This was her example for why there needs to be abortion.
What?
Effectively saying that all of these people should be dead.
All people who have disabilities.
That's a psychotic thing to say.
Yeah.
So Ian, just a moment ago, you mentioned that, when a person is born is when they gain constitutional rights. My question is, does the 57-year-old man with the motor skills of a 1-year-old have constitutional rights?
Yeah.
You think he does?
Yeah.
What about a baby born with no brain?
Yeah.
Does have constitutional
It still has a
rights.
name and a birth certificate.
But a baby with a full functioning brain that functions more so than a born baby that has no brain, the unborn, so let's say it's two women and they're both sitting there, both equally as pregnant as each other. And one baby is born and the other was not, but they were fertilized at the exact same time. The one still in the womb has a fully functioning brain and the one outside of the womb has no brain, just a cerebellum, so it's basic motor functions. You think the one without a brain does have constitutional rights and the one in the womb does not.
Yes.
So then killing the one in the womb is fine.
It's more ethical than killing the living human. Yeah.
So I accept your answer, but I don't understand it.
No, I do. And I don't say this to be disparaging at all because you're my boy. I like you.
Here it comes.
No, I do. I like you. But this is that whole Sapiens, Noah Yuval Harari school of thought, is that reality can only be measured by suffering, right? And that's the ultimate form of measurement of reality.
Yeah.
And so the suffering argument is whatever we can do to eliminate suffering, to have to confront suffering, to have to confront anxiety and despair, whatever we can do to eliminate having to go through that process that is painful, we'll do that. And then we can justify doing it to kids because most likely if they're born into some patriarchal white supremacy society, then they'll suffer. And my point is that who do we think actually ends up dead in those scenarios from these white, yuppie, snowflake, milquetoast, uniparty, globalist, establishment politicians? Black people, brown people. The numbers suggest that.
I have a thought experiment for you, Ian. So, all right, let's say right here, you've got two women. They both had a baby conceived in them at the exact same moments. One baby has no brain and is born, and the other baby has a brain, totally functioning, completely average, unborn. And you said that you think the one that was born but doesn't have a brain has more constitutional rights or does have constitutional rights and the one unborn doesn't, right?
Yeah, I don't know what the law is about like a brain dead person being born if the parent has the right to kill it,
I'm not
to
asking
pull it
you.
off
I'm
the
just
machine.
saying, you believe that the baby that was born, even with no brain, has constitutional rights and the unborn has no rights?
One's born prematurely with no brain?
No, they're both 9 months gestation, but one was born and the other wasn't born yet because there's variation. So you're saying
you give the rights to the born person.
Okay. So thought experiment. A mad scientist comes in the room and goes, "Nyah-ha-ha," and he fires a growth ray at the other woman. Now she's 70 feet tall, but the baby stayed the same size. Her womb is now a giant open room, and they bring in a TV and a table, and the baby's still there, and then someone raises the baby, but it's still in the womb. The baby learns to read and write. Does it have constitutional rights yet?
No, not by modern day law.
By your opinion.
Should it with growth rays? No, we're gonna have to rewrite the law.
My point is, I'm trying to understand why you don't think that baby has any rights. If the womb became as big as a skyscraper due to a mad scientist, an alien blasts them, she's like, and she turns into a building. And the baby is still technically in the womb, but it's massive now. And people walk inside and they're teaching it math and reading, and it's aging and eating food. It has no rights. Still in the womb.
I mean, this is interesting
the womb is
because
bigger.
if you can neural net a baby and track its thoughts in the womb, we're going to have it'll be a revolution of what a baby is. Is it a human? Is it alive? Does it have rights? Yeah, it will at that point because we're able to communicate with it. But if you can't communicate with it, it doesn't have, for all intents and purposes, rights yet.
I don't know, man. Sometimes we have difficulty communicating, but I think we're both people.
I guess the point I'm trying to make just is I do not understand the logic behind why a baby at 9 months with a thin layer of flesh between its face and and everyone else does not have any rights.
Because it's attached to the mom.
But the baby that was born is still attached to the mom too.
Well, yeah, I guess, but it's about to be removed.
No, I didn't say
You've
it was.
decided
Okay,
once
let's
it's
say
born,
it's
you're
not.
cutting the cord.
No, they don't cut the cord. It stays. It has no
think-
rights.
Well, eventually you got to cut the cord.
Sure. But in that moment, it has no rights.
Yeah, I don't know what the process is.
Could you abort a baby that was born as long as you don't cut the umbilical cord?
God, in some places, but I don't think that would be legal.
I
no.
just don't understand why a baby at 9 months with a fully functioning brain that can understand music, that can kick and moves around, and is literally no different physically than a baby at the exact same time of gestation, but is outside the womb. They're identical in every way. I don't understand where the separation of rights happens.
Let's forget the rights for a second, because I don't like the rights argument, because the left doesn't believe in the Constitution.
Good point.
First of all, they believe the Constitution is always in flux, and our Constitution is amendable in some ways, but they believe in a completely relativistic view of the Constitution, and even claim that the Constitution itself is illegitimate in its inception due to slavery, the natives, and white supremacy. So I don't like the rights discussion. Let's just make it more basic. Who are the most vulnerable people in the world?
Young children,
Unborn children.
babies.
What scenario in a movie makes us the most angry?
When a dog gets hit by a car.
Yeah. for the liberal yuppie vegan cokeheads, for sure. But for me, when I'm watching a movie, the characters that we despise the most traditionally are characters that kill a woman who is pregnant or has her children with her, in some gruesome fashion. And there's a reason for that. And people don't want to give it its proper credit, but Abrahamic faith changed the trajectory of our society away from a barbaric child sacrificing culture. That's the story of Abraham. He goes up into the mountain, and before Abraham, child sacrifice was a common practice in barbaric pagan societies.
But how else are you going to get the grain to grow?
That's right.
But
Gotta make
that's
a
exactly what
sacrifice to
they're doing. They're
Moloch.
sacrificing babies for economic growth. That's their whole argument.